and welcome to this Connected Falkirk and STEM Falkirk live lesson for British Science Week 2025 on adaptations. My name is Lauren and I currently work as part of the Connected Falkirk team at the council. However, I'm actually a biology and science teacher, so I'm super excited to be here to teach you this lesson today, as this is a biology topic and adaptations has always been one of my favourite things to teach my pupils about. I hope you go away from this morning's lesson really excited about biology and having learned a few things you maybe didn't know before about animals, plants, and their adaptations. So are we ready to start? This is going to be a really hands-on session, so please make sure you have your iPad ready to go. Now, to fully take part in this session, you need to have downloaded our Keynote activity book. If you haven't downloaded the Keynote document already to your device, you'll need to scan this QR code. This will open a Google Drive with the document that you need in it. So please scan the QR code just now, and then I'll talk you through how to download it from there. Depending on whether you have Google Drive on your device or not, it might open in Google Drive or it might open in Safari. But you should get a page that looks like this. Now again, depending on what you're using, there might be slightly different ways that you download it. So sometimes you'll see that it says Adaptations Workbook.key, and on the right hand side you might have 3 dots where you can tap and then specifically download that document. If you don't have that, you'll have what I have, which is download all at the top. So I'm going to tap that just now to let it start downloading, and you'll see at the bottom right hand side that it says it's zipping the file. This is because it's quite a large file, so it might take a little bit of time. So you might have to hold on until everyone is ready. When that downloads, you'll tap download. And at the top right hand side, beside where the address is on the website on Safari, you'll see the little circle with the arrow pointing down. And that arrow pointing down, you can tap to get your download. You'll see that it kind of fills up and then bounces when it's ready. And you'll see there that I've got my British Science Week folder there. Now, if you just tap the 3 dots and said download just for the Keynote, you might be able to tap it and it'll open straight in Keynote. But if you've done it the same way as me, you might have to tap this so it opens in your files. And when it opens in your files, you'll see it's still zipped. So you need to tap it again. That'll open a folder. And that folder, if you go into it, will have the workbook in there. And you can tap that for it to open inside Keynote. It should look like this. And it should be that it opens maybe in preview mode, so you might have to tap edit on the top right hand side before you can do anything with it. But that's how you get the actual workbook on your device. So please pause the video here until everyone in your class has got that workbook downloaded and opened in Keynote. So are we ready to get started learning about adaptations? Perfect, let's go. To begin with, we have a mini task for you to do. You'll see this on page 2 of your workbook. We'd like you to complete our Now You Can See Me Camouflage challenge. You need to follow the instructions on the screen to take a photo of yourself and then camouflage yourself into a background. You can make it as easy or hard as you want. If you choose a plain background, like a white wall, this might be really simple. But if you want a challenge, take a photo of yourself standing in front of a part of your classroom that's a bit busier and see if you can camouflage yourself into it using markup. I would suggest not having other people in the background of your thing because it makes it harder for you to then blend yourself in. So make sure it's only kind of stationary objects that are in the background. And you're going to do that using markup. So you might want to get someone else to take the photo of you against a different background, or you can do a selfie, but that's sometimes a little bit harder. Once you've taken your photo in camera, you can then open it in your Photos app. Now, if you haven't updated your iPad in a wee while, you might have to tap the top right hand side where it says edit and then tap the little pen icon to get your markup tools. If you've updated to iOS 18, you will have the same thing as me, which is at the bottom there's little sliders. You tap those and then tap the top right hand side where there's the markup icon. This will bring up your markup bar. You're probably quite familiar with this already, but just a few little tips. You'll see that there's a lot of different tools here, and each of those tools has different textures. So I would suggest as part of this activity, trying those out to see which one fits what you're trying to draw best, or use a mix of them. Remember, you select a tool and then you can change its colour. But remember, you can also tap the tool again to be able to change the thickness of the lines or how see-through that colour is as well. Speaking of colours, you've got your colour wheel at the bottom right-hand side that you can choose between, but a lot of people don't know that you can tap at the top left, that little dropper icon, and that will basically allow you to select any colour that is already in your photo. So if I want to blend myself into that blue wall, I'll go over that blue section, let go, and that's given me the exact colour that is the blue of that wall. And then I can use that to then draw over the top of it and help me camouflage myself in. So I would really suggest using that dropper tool because it's really important and will save you lots of time having to try and choose the right colours for each section. So I'm going to put on the screen just now, in a little second, one I've made already. One other tip is to make sure that you tap done twice when you're finished marking up, because if you don't and you press cancel or you back out, you'll lose all of the drawing that you've done. So on the screen at the moment, I'm going to start showing you a video, and that's a video of myself doing a markup on an image of me to show you what to do. So you can keep playing the video just now if you want to, and just let it play in the background until it's done. And then if that's still not enough time, then obviously pause the video until your whole class is finished doing their camouflage, and then you can play again to go on to the next part of the session. I'll warn you as well that I did speed this up to quite a pace. This is not me doing it live, so that's why the video is shorter and faster than it would be in person. But you can see, and it gives you an idea of how I blended myself into that background. So there you can see my final image. It's completely up to you if you want to leave your eyes or not. I did, because when you see a lot of animals that are camouflaged, you will be able to see their eyes in it. But it's completely up to you if you want to do that, or if you just want to completely camouflage yourself into that background. If you need a bit more time to finish, please pause the video here while you continue and press play again when you've camouflaged yourself and you're ready to carry on with the rest of the lesson. So if everyone's done, now what you can do is you can turn to page 3 of your workbook. And on page 3, what you will find is you'll find a frame for you to put your finished picture in. Now this is really, really simple to use. You can tap that little plus button in the bottom right hand side, and then tap choose photo or video, and then select your finished marked up photo, and that will insert that photo into the frame so that you can keep it for later. It's a nice wee way of being able to see your work later on. So I hope you enjoyed that opportunity to be able to complete or do your own little challenge. Well done on creating some fabulous camouflaged photos as well. We're really looking forward to hopefully seeing them after today's session. But that was just a quick mini task to introduce you to the concept of camouflage, as we're going to be talking today about adaptations such as camouflage. So if you didn't know already, this week is British Science Week, and every year they have a theme. This year's theme is Adapt and Change. Now, I created and designed today's lesson, but if you enjoyed today and you want to try out a bunch of other fun challenges this week to celebrate, I would highly suggest scanning this QR code and taking a look at the activity packs that were released as part of British Science Week. So the words that we use are really important in biology. So I keep saying that word adaptations, and you might not know what that means. So what is an adaptation? Well, adaptations are special features that help an animal or plant survive in its home. These special features can be split into 3 groups. The first are behavioural features, so the things that an animal does. So this could be sleeping during the day and getting up at night to avoid the harsh sun, or hibernating in winter when it's too cold and there isn't enough food, or perhaps things like wolves working together to hunt in packs. The second group of special features are what we call structural features. So this is the main category we're going to chat about today and includes things like camouflage, which is to do with an organism's skin and how it blends into a background. So some organisms like chameleons can change the colour of their skin, which is really cool. Mimic octopuses can do that as well. They can change the texture of their skin. Or it might just be that an animal is specifically coloured so that it blends quite well into the background or has a certain pattern so that it blends quite well into a background. Other examples of structural features would include having fur to keep a bear warm, or birds having sharp beaks to help them eat insects. So those are all things about the actual structure of that animal or plant. Finally, the third group of adaptations are what we call physiological adaptations. Now, please don't worry, you don't need to remember that word or any of the other ones I've put here. Essentially, they are special body tricks that organisms can do. So an example of this is us. Our temperature, human temperature, in our body stays consistently at 37 degrees. And that's really, really important. So we can go to really hot places or really cold places, and the inside of our body on the whole will stay at that temperature. And that's a really cool trick that we can do that not all animals can do. Or another example would be a snake's body producing things like venom to help it kill prey. That's a really special adaptation, a special body trick that it can do. Now, all of these examples I've just given help the organism to survive in its home. And the word that we use in biology when we describe where an animal lives is actually its habitat. So remember, adaptations are any of those special features which help an animal or plant survive in its home or habitat. So to practice what we've just learned about adaptations and to extend what we've learned a bit further to some proper examples, we're going to use Curipod. Teachers, you will find the link to Curipod in the comments under the video, and you'll be able to duplicate the quiz and use it with your class. I would highly recommend doing this, even if you haven't used it before, as it'll let you easily gather and then vote on responses with your whole class. However, if you're unable to use the Curipod, I've copied the questions onto the next few slides, and you could just do this as a class discussion instead, rather than using the Curipod as an interactive element. So for our first question, I want you to have a think of what adaptations, so what special features does a camel have to help it survive in the desert where it lives? So I want you to have a think just now. If you're using the Curipod, everyone can input their answers. If you're discussing as a class, please pause the video and gather responses now. So here are some ideas of things that you could have spoken about. These are all special features of camels that help them to survive in the desert. Firstly, they have nostrils that are thin slits rather than holes like ours, and they have really long eyelashes. These things help them keep sand out of their eyes and nose, and having those long eyelashes also help them keep the sun out of their eyes. You'll also notice that camels are also very light in colour, so just like the sand in the desert, to help them camouflage into their background. Camels also have large feet with 2 toes, and that helps them to stop them sinking into the sand. You might also have ever seen videos of camels and they often kneel down to rest, so they also have leathery knee pads to make sure they don't get sore doing this. And finally, you might have guessed that they have 1 or more humps. Now, some people think that camels' humps store water, but this isn't actually true. That's a myth. So camels' humps actually store fat. This helps them to go long periods of time without eating or drinking because the body can convert that fat into energy. A really interesting fact is that camels' humps change size depending on how much food they eat. The average weight of a human is about 136 pounds for an adult, so you guys will obviously weigh a lot less. And on a healthy camel, one hump can weigh as much as 80 pounds, so more than half of the weight of a normal adult human, which is a lot. So if you think about it, if they have 2 humps, that's even heavier. Now I want you to do the same thing for frogs. What adaptations does a frog have to let it live in its home or environment? Either gather your responses now using the Curipod or discussing as a class, and unpause when you're ready for the answers. So frogs also have lots of adaptations that let them live in their habitat, but these are quite different from the camels. They have a sticky tongue to shoot out to catch insects which they eat. They have big eyes on top of their heads to allow them to see just above the water, whilst their bodies are mostly hidden underneath. They have strong back legs to allow them to jump to escape predators or animals that are trying to eat them. And they have webbed feet to help them swim quickly in water. And they also have moist skin, which allows them to breathe through their skin, which is really cool. Now I want you to think, if there was a creature that was going to live in your classroom, what types of adaptations could it have that would help it survive? Again, either gather your answers together on the Curipod, which will also let you vote on which feature you think is the best as a class, or gather your results by discussing it as a class verbally. Play the video again when you're ready to move on. So for today's main activity, we're going to design and create some of your very own classroom creatures. In the next few slides, you're going to choose one adaptation from each list of potential ones, and these will focus on your creature's movement, eyesight, camouflage, and behaviour. Then you'll get to name and draw your creature. So for this, you need to have your workbook open to page 5. As we go through and I explain each adaptation, I want you to open the drawing tool and tick the one adaptation on each page that you want. So I'll just show you just now what I mean by that. So in your workbook, you're going to go to page 5. To get your markup tool in your workbook in Keynote, you go to the top menu and you'll see the one that looks like a photograph of a landscape, so little hills with a sun above it. If you tap that, this opens where you get all of your media, and you'll see one of them is drawing. So you're going to tap that and it's going to open up your toolbar. You can then select a tool and select the colour, and you're then going to use this to tick as we go through which adaptation you're choosing on each slide. So it might be, on the first one, you might choose this. On the next one, you might choose that. But don't do that just yet. I'm just showing you how to get that markup open. And then as we go through and I explain them, you choose one on each slide. And I hope that makes sense. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to decide, how is your creature going to move? Are they going to have sticky feet that let them climb walls and windows? Instead, are they going to have springs in their legs for bounding between tables? Will they have wheels instead of feet to roll around the classroom? Or do you want your creatures to have wings to silently glide over your classmates' heads? Make your decision now by ticking one of the boxes in your first slide of your workbook, so slide 5 for this. A word of caution here though, please don't pick all of the same things as the person next to you. We want to have a diverse range of classroom creatures for our interactive story, which will come up later. And it's really important that all of the creatures in your class are different from one another. So please pause the video here until you've made your first decision of how your creature is going to move. So for our next adaptation, so the next page in your workbook, you need to decide how your creature sees the world. What type of eyes will they have? So again, thinking, is it going to have huge owl eyes to see in dark cupboards? Are they going to have magnifying glass eyes for spotting any of those dropped snacks in the classroom? Will they have chameleon eyes, which look in different directions at once? Or are they going to have little pinhole eyes that are great for avoiding those bright classroom lights? So again, pause the video here until everyone in your class has made a decision about how their creature is going to see. Now, we spoke a little bit about camouflage at the start of today's lesson. I want you now to decide what kind of body covering your creature will have. Will you give it whiteboard skin to blend in with the board? Or sticky note camouflage to let it blend into the desks? Or shaggy carpet fur to help it blend in with the carpet on your floor? Or would you prefer to give it a spiky pencil-covered back to help it fight off predators? It's completely up to you. Pause the video here until everyone has made their decision. And remember, try not to choose the same thing as the person next to you. So for our final one, your last decision you need to make about your creature is what special power you want it to have. So you've got lots of options here. You can either give it pencil sharpener teeth for chewing through obstacles. You can give it the ability to grow new rulers as a tail for measuring things. Now that's quite fun in terms of I always am missing rulers in my classroom. So it'd be wonderful if I had a creature that could grow them for me. You could have the scent of sweets to trick friendly teachers. Or you could have chalk dust puff defence to confuse predators. So make a final decision of what special power you would like your creature to have, and when everyone's ready, please play the video again. Now that you've chosen your 4 key adaptations, I want you to pause the video here and draw your creature on the next slide of your workbook, so that's slide 10. This slide looks like it has a black background. Please do not change the background colour, and please don't draw a background for your creature. This is really important for later as we need it to have a transparent background for inputting it into AR Maker. To draw your creature now, and what I want you to do is I want you to make sure you've included all 4 adaptations that you've just chosen. If you get that finished, you can think of a name for your classroom creature. So please do that at the moment. I've got a little example of me drawing my own classroom creature on the screen. So it's up to you if you'd like to leave this playing just now so that your pupils can see how to draw that classroom creature and what type of thing we're looking for. And at the end of that video, you could then pause it to give your class a little bit more time to draw their creatures before moving on. Now again, I've increased the speed of this, so don't worry, this isn't how fast I drew it originally, but you can see I've given my creature large owl eyes, I've given it wings to be able to move, some fur to blend in with the carpet, and also the scent of sweets special power. So this is how I made mine look, but your creature can have anything. Apart from those 4 adaptations you've chosen, it can look any way you want it to look, it can be any colour you want it to be, just get really creative with it. So now feel free to pause the video here until your class have all drawn their creatures and are ready to move on. So we said at the start of the session that the whole point of animals and plants having adaptations is that they help them survive in their habitat where they live. Your classroom creature's habitat is the classroom. So we're now going to do a wee interactive story with your classroom creatures to see who is best adapted to survive and win this challenge. Some rules for this though. You're all going to stand up in a second and hold your iPad with your creature on it facing the front. You should know what your 4 adaptations are, but if you forget, you can look at your photo or the rest of the booklet, the other pages. I'm going to tell you a fun, dramatic survival story, and you all need to be listening very carefully. As I go through the story, some of your creatures will be put out based on the adaptations you've chosen, and others will make it through to the next round if they've survived that part of the challenge because they were best adapted. If you're put out, you need to sit down. If you're still in, you stay standing. I think that should hopefully be easy enough. Now remember, even if you sit down, you still need to remain quiet so that the rest of the class can hear the story. Teachers, you can help with this. There also might be bits where you get to join in with some little bits of the story, so watch out for those. Are we ready to start our classroom jungle story? Brilliant. So everyone, if you stand up just now and have your pictures facing the front. Teachers, a little quick tip is this is a lovely point to get a picture of your class with all of their creatures. So if you want to pause the video here and do that, that would be brilliant. We would love to see them. You can send them to us afterwards, but even if not, it's just a nice wee opportunity to get a photo of their wonderful work so far. Play the video when you're ready to start the interactive story. Welcome to the classroom jungle. Your creatures have just moved into their new home, Miss McKechnie, which is me, and my P5 classroom. The desks are forests, the pencil pots are watering holes, and the carpet is a vast savannah. But danger lurks. Chapter 1, The Tidy Up Tornado. The teacher announces, "Everyone tidy up!" The classroom shakes as chairs are pushed in, tables are wiped, and the floor is swept. Creatures that can't climb walls, fly, or hop over the brush get swept away by it. Sit down if you don't have sticky feet, wings, or springs for jumping. Unfortunately, everyone with wheels, you are out. Chapter 2, The Snack Time Scramble. The children drop crumbs, but can your creature spot the food first? Creatures with magnifying glass eyes, owl eyes, or chameleon eyes survive. The others are not going to be able to see those crumbs to get them. So sit down if your eyesight isn't sharp enough. Unfortunately, everyone with pinhole eyes, you are out because you cannot find the crumbs. Chapter 3, The Great Chair Avalanche. A student leans too far back on their chair despite their teacher telling them over and over again not to, and crash. Creatures near the chair legs are in trouble. Those who can jump, climb, or fly escape just in time. Phew! I think we're actually better adapted as a population now for things like this. Since all of our creatures with wheels are already out, that means everyone survives this round. So you're meant to sit down if your creature couldn't move out of the way quickly enough, but no one should have to sit down this time because all of those with wheels were already out before. Well done, everyone. Chapter 4, The Great Stationery Shortage. Absolute disaster strikes the classroom. The stationery cupboard is empty. A student desperately needs a sharp pencil for their spelling test. Creatures with pencil sharpener teeth get snatched up and used. Those with pencil sharpener teeth, you've been put to work and are allowed to stay in the classroom. You can stay standing. The teacher is looking for a new ruler since all of the other ones have mysteriously disappeared. Creatures with ruler tails are taken and placed in the supply drawer. If your creature can grow new rulers, you've become school property and the new class pet. You've been kept in the classroom so you can stay standing. Meanwhile, the scent of sweets floating around the classroom has finally caught attention. A group of children follow the delicious smell and scoop up the sweet-scented creatures, thinking they're secret classroom snacks. Sit down if your creature smells like sweets. You've been cuddled and taken home. Suddenly, a huge sneeze erupts from the teacher. It turns out the chalk dust puff creatures have set off a chain reaction of sneezing fits all across the classroom. The teacher rushes to grab tissues and shoos the dust puffing creatures outside. Sit down if you have a chalk dust puff defence. You've been banished from the classroom. So everyone with a sweet smell and a chalk dust puff defence, you are out of this round. My other ones, so my people that can grow rulers and my pencil sharpener teeth creatures, you are all staying. Chapter 5, The Sudden Classroom Blackout. The classroom lights flicker and suddenly go out completely. Who can still navigate safely? Creatures with huge owl eyes or magnifying glass eyes can find their way. Sit down if your creature has weak vision. So everyone with chameleon eyes, I'm afraid you are out. The Giant Foot Stamp Stampede, Chapter 6. A rush of students head to the door for break time. Creatures with wings fly up, sticky-footed creatures survive by climbing up high, but those with springs can't quite jump high enough and risk getting stepped on by all of those feet stamping. You can stamp along with me just now if you want. So sit down if you don't have wings or sticky feet. So everyone with spring legs, I'm afraid you are out. Chapter 7, The Big Classroom Makeover. One morning, the teacher walks in and announces, "Time for a classroom refresh." The teacher looks at their whiteboard and frowns. Why are there strange marks on it? This board should be perfectly clean. Before they know it, creatures with whiteboard skin are mistaken for leftover scribbles and are wiped away forever. Sit down if you have whiteboard skin, you've been erased. The teacher accidentally scrapes their hand on something sharp while they were tidying. That's it, no more dangerous objects. Creatures with spiky, pencil-covered backs are swiftly confiscated and locked away in a dangerous items drawer. Sit down if you have spiky, pencil-covered backs, you have been banned. The desk is almost spotless, but the teacher doesn't notice the creatures with sticky note camouflage. They look just like normal post-it note reminders. If you have sticky note camouflage, you survived. You blended in perfectly. Just as the teacher is about to finish, they spot a creature with shaggy carpet fur curled up in the cosy corner. "Aw, that actually looks nice and comfy. I think I'll keep that." If you have shaggy carpet fur, you also survive. You're too cosy to remove. So after this chapter, everyone with whiteboard skin and spiky pencil backs, I'm afraid you're out. Those with sticky note camouflage and shaggy carpet fur, you have survived. Well done. Those left standing are the creatures with the best adaptations to survive in my P5 classroom jungle. Give everyone a round of applause. It might be that some of your classes didn't have anyone that got to the end, and that's just because they didn't have the right adaptations. Now, this is where we can talk a little bit about how you might have survived in a different environment. So let's have a think. If I had changed my story slightly, some of you would have been able to survive, and that's just what happens. Now, if I took a camel and I put him somewhere other than the desert, or if I took a frog and put him in the desert, we thought those frogs and camels were really well adapted earlier, and we agreed that. But it's adapted specifically for its home. So if I took a frog with all of those amazing adaptations and stuck it in a desert, it wouldn't do very well. It also might be that over time there are changes in a habitat or environment that means that some of you, if the story changed, might have actually made it to the end of the challenge. And this is why variety is so important. If you all had the exact same creature in your class, you would all have been out at the exact same part of the story. So this is just highlighting that this is why it's important that no two animals or plants are usually exactly the same. Now, you spent a lot of time there making your classroom creatures, and I really would like to learn more about them. So I'm going to give you a challenge which you can start today. Hands up if you know who David Attenborough is. Well, he's one of my favourite people ever. He makes amazing documentaries all about animals and plants, some of them weird and wonderful that you might not have heard of before. So I'm going to set you the task today of making your own David Attenborough-style documentary. Now, when Sir David does his documentaries, he often has the creatures he's talking about beside him, and we want you to be able to do that too. So we're going to import our classroom creatures into an app called AR Maker, which will allow us to do that. So everyone's going to follow along with me just now and do exactly as I do to export your creature and put it into AR Maker. So first of all, you have to open your classroom creature in Keynote that you drew earlier. Then you're going to look at the top right-hand side of your screen and you're going to try and find the share button. So at the top right, you'll see a rectangle with the arrow pointing up the way. If you tap that, that'll open another menu. Then you tap export and send, and then tap images. And once you're in images, you'll have a bunch of options. You want to double check that the format is set to PNG and that transparent backgrounds is toggled on. Then when you tap into slide range, you want to move the numbers until both of them are on the number of the slide that has your creature. then tap back and then tap export on the top right. Then tap share and then save image, and that will save the image to your camera roll. So to run through that one more time, go into your Keynote, go to the top button, right hand button that says it's the share button. When you're there, tap export and send. Make sure you tap into images. Make sure your format is PNG and your transparent backgrounds are on. Then go into slide range. You don't want to select all of the slides because we don't want all of them from your workbook. We just want the number of the one that has your creature on it. Tap back and then tap export. Then tap share and then tap save image. And then you can double check that it's worked correctly by going into your camera roll on your device. And you should be able to see it there without the black background, and that's correct, and that's how we want it to look for going on to our next stage. So pause the video here until everyone has exported their creature to their camera roll, and then we're ready to move on. Next, we're going to use AR Maker. Now, before completing this lesson, your teachers hopefully made sure you'd already downloaded this on your iPad. If you don't have it, you can just watch along with the next part, or so you can do it later, or you can pause the video here and make sure everyone has downloaded it first. So you want to find your way into the AR Maker app, and then you want to tap Start, and then tap Create Your Own Scene, and then Start again. You then need to move your iPad around the space you want to put your creature, so that this might be a desk or chair or shelf, etc. And then on the left hand side, you then want to bring the menu up when that's ready, and you want to tap New. Then tap the folder icon to bring up your photo library. Find the photo of your creature, and then you can tap the tick button and then the tick button again. This will then say it's been a success. And when you then go, you'll be able to see your space and you can choose where you would like to place it. So tap the creature and then tap where you want to place it. You can resize it by using 2 fingers as well to make it bigger. And then when you've decided where you want to place it, you tap place on the right hand side and that leaves it there. Now you can put multiple creatures in here as well, but there's my one you can see, and you can see I can move around that creature now and make a kind of little documentary about it. Now you could get someone else to hold your iPad and be the cameraman whilst you join your creature in the frame and in the style of a David Attenborough tell us about your creature. But to record a video you do need to swipe down from the top right hand side at the battery and then tap the screen record button, and that will allow you to then record what's on your screen, which at the moment would be your creature in AR Maker, and you could be in that as well if someone else holds your camera for you. Now before you start, I know you might want some inspiration. You might as a class want to watch some David Attenborough clips first to help you see what your documentary should look like. To do this, you can look at page 13 of your workbook. Here you'll see a crab, a turtle, a lizard, a flying squirrel and a sloth. If you click each one, they will take you to a video of David Attenborough teaching you all about them. You can use this to get inspiration for what you might be able to say in your documentary about your classroom creature. I would absolutely love to see your final documentaries, or even if you want to watch them as a class and decide on a class winner and just share the winners one with me, it's completely up to you. But I'm going to give the pupil with the best documentary in Falkirk Council a prize during British Science Week, so make sure that your teacher does share them with me if you can. Please take some time after watching this video to make your final video documentaries and submit them. Now I hope you all enjoyed this lesson for British Science Week. I know I've thoroughly enjoyed making it for you. If you would like to, there's going to be a quizzes quiz that's available after our British Science Week live lesson. So if you're watching this video as a catch-up, as long as it's before the Friday of British Science Week, you could also complete the extension quiz. So this will test your knowledge as a class of what you've learnt in the live lesson. So please complete that quizzes, as again you'll have the chance of winning a class prize if you get the top mark for that. Now I'm really excited to see any pictures you've taken whilst completing this video. Our Twitter accounts are on the screen just now, so please encourage your teacher to share with us. I've also left my email there if you want to get in touch to share anything from today's session, or if you have any questions. And remember, you can always contact me through our Connected Falkirk or STEM Falkirk Teams pages. Thank you so much for watching. We really hope you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful British Science Week, and I hope some of you have managed to have fun filming your documentaries. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch, and I can't wait to hear how you get on. Thank you.